evening, everybody. Oh, come on now. I'm not feeling good yet. You can't not feel good at the same time. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to need that energy because I'm kind of frustrated. I was expecting a full house. I don't know, the rain and everything else, but I'm going to focus on the people right here. And we had a wonderful time, wonderful opening, and that's what I'm going to be doing right now. And I'm so happy to see so many loving people in the room. I'm so happy that everyone here right now is here to support me, and I want to make sure that the journey and the story which I share with you today, you get a better understanding of who I am. So usually when I do these talks and stuff, I will practice for an hour, for an hour a day over several days to make sure it's polished. But talking to George was like, just be open, let the spirit guide you, lead with faith. So I don't know how this is going to come out. And how it comes out is how it comes out. And if I offend you, we're going to get there in a second. So today, I'm going to be hot. And being hot for me is being honest, open, and transparent. I'm going to tell you my story from the beginning, how everything started to where I am now. And hopefully that should get you to understand a bit more about me. And if this empowers you, inspires you, and educates you along the way, then fair enough. If you feel offended today, this is a you problem. Because I'm telling you right now, this is my story, and I know some of the things which I may be sharing might touch you in a certain way, but it's not to do anything like that, but for me just to share to you where I'm at. Okay, certain things okay, which is I'm going to be sharing with you is very personal, so I'm going to tell you right now, I have dealt with these things, but it doesn't mean, okay, it still doesn't have a sting when I do share this story. So please do not feel sorry for me. If you feel like crying, knock yourself out. And everything is okay with that. As long as you're here, I just want you to make sure, if you want to hug me and everything else, I'm cool. But I love the antibacterial cream, so don't do it. And this story is full of love. This story is about who I am, being authentic with you, and just sharing. And hopefully some of you in the room right now will be sharing your story if you haven't done already as well. So, let's get started. Let's get the show on the road because it's late, it's Friday. We're no longer rave anymore. I was supposed to say yeah, but okay, whatever. It's fine. Some of us still do that. God bless you. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to start off with a quick icebreaker. Say what you see. So we're going to go through a few slides, and I just want you to tell me, what do you see? Shout it out. Don't be afraid. We're all friends here.
A girl looking out a window.
That's it. Girl looking out a window.
A clock. How do you see a clock?
It's right there.
Was that one there?
No, right there.
Hey, it's your icebreaker.
Oh, that clock. Okay, alright, cool. Alright. So the moon. Alright. So that's what you get. Okay, so we understand what it is. Alright, shout out, what do you see now?
Hey, love.
Alright, cool. What do you see now?
Question. Where's the answer?
Oh,
it's within it. Oh, okay.
Where's the answer? Alright, what do you see now?
Evil.
Oh?
Evil.
So some of us still need more prayer.
Everyone's a good person. I saw good person.
Cool. Alright, what do you see now?
Is that you?
Kidding.
That's like Michael
Yeah,
Jackson.
it's like you.
Alright. But what do you see?
Afro. Innocent.
So you know I had hair on back in the day, yeah? So no, I went lying. Yeah. But this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the story. This is the beginning of how things started off for me. And how I interpret the world being broken and how I saw myself being broken. And in the beginning of my life, all I wanted to do was just be loving. As a child, my thing was to be of service to others. When I made other people smile, that was like my currency. I felt like a bad man when I was able to make my mum tea at 4 or 5 years old. I was able to go out there, go shop at the age of 6 years old with a list and come back with the right stuff. And not with the right change, I'll be lying because I used to buy myself a little chocolate because I thought it was great. But I was able to do these things. And I felt to myself, this was like, this is what I love doing and being there for my friends and everything else. And that was my life. This was me, just being loving. And as a child, this is how we want to be, and this is how we should be nurturing our children, to be loving and to be open and to be able to smile and everything else. But in life, life happens. Life just be lifing with us sometimes, and when you're a child, it happens often, too often. Now, this is something, okay, which I coined for myself, something which I like to share with, especially my mentees. But in life, for you to truly be fulfilled, you need to be able to have the foundation of love in your life. And the first thing for me is to have that love of God. To be able to have God, that experience with God, whoever and how you do it is down to you. But to know that God loves you, honestly loves you, is the foundation for me. Then, obviously, your parents. Your parents should be able to love you, to be able to pour into you, to give you that nourishment that you're going to need when you are a baby until you are a certain age for you to be able to stand by yourself. And then by learning from your parents, learning from the people around you, you learn how to love yourself. And then from there, you can then take that into different relationships. If you get married or you create new besties and all these wonderful things, you can take these journeys, you can take these lessons into these other relationships, because now you have the foundation. Because we all know if you're going to build a house, you're going to need to lay down a foundation before you build it up. And you can only build a strong house as deep as your foundation goes. And for me personally, it was so important to be able to understand this, because by understanding this, I was able to go to the core essence of my brokenness. Now, this is where it's going to get a bit techie. I'm going to share with you some stories about my life, and it was through these stories which actually broke me. From that sweet child you saw in the beginning with a fantastic Michael Jackson afro, to something else which morphed through what the environment created. So, this is the first story, the hairspray. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I believe not too much older than I was in that picture, I was talking to my auntie, who was from America, and she was talking to my mum. And I remember the discussion about my auntie wanted to take me to America. She wanted me to really flourish over there, because she saw me that I had great potential, and my mum, she had several children and everything else. And I remember mum saying certain things, and this is what I'm saying, for those of you who are parents, be very careful what you say to your children, because they will remember the things that you say which you may just put to one side. And I remember my mum saying one time, why do I have so many children? And I remember that, and I internalized that. And I was about 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. And when I heard my mum talking to my auntie saying she wanted to take me, I said to myself, let me go to America with my auntie, because that will make my mum happy. This is when I was a child. This is how I was thinking. And I remember standing there on the top of the stairs, literally just like this. My mum's down there with my auntie, and they're having a discussion. My mum goes, look, ask him if you can, see what happens. So I remember I was standing there, and I remember my auntie was saying, Dean, I want to take you to America. I want to help you to go through your athletics, do American football. What do you think? And I said to her, I would love to go with you, auntie. In that moment, I looked at my mum and I saw nothing but anger and rage. And in her hand, she had a spray bottle. And she threw it in my face, and it busted my whole eye. And the blood that poured out into my eye, I could not see. And she kept me off school for several days because of the fact that she felt ashamed that the scar that I had on my face was going to be seen and things may happen. This for me, okay, was the first time I can actually remember not feeling loved. The potty. Now, a few years later from there, I remember me and my friends, we used to go to the arcades and we used to play games. And in this arcade, we used to, I used to be playing Street Fighter, and we used to love playing these games. It was absolutely amazing. And for myself, it was a great time to be with my friends, and because I saw how they were loved and how they used to do things. And I just wanted to be around that because I wasn't getting as much as that as I thought. But often than not, growing in the household of, at the time, I believe it was 6 of us, it was hard. And we always didn't have the money. So I used to go to my grand's house, and my auntie, she used to have this little change box. I used to go in there and take out some coins and go play the arcade with my friends. And for me, it was some change. It was there, and it was supposed to be spent. And I thought to myself, it was fine. But when you do it over a long time and that money's not being replaced, you can start seeing it go down. And I remember my auntie saying, hey, where's all my money going? And then after, literally, they came to me and said, was it you? I lied. I said, no, it wasn't me. And then my mum went out, she asked my friends, and they said, yeah, he took us to the arcade and he always had money and So they snitched on me. That shouldn't have happened. That didn't happen. Okay, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, you can't say I'm in church, but it happened. And I thought to myself, whatever. So my mum took me back home. When I mean, I got the beating of my life, okay? And when I mean of my life, it was like one of the worst times I've ever had. To the point, she hit me with a metal stick that broke. She hit me with those curtain wires till she got tired. And then she picked up the potty and she hit me over my head and she busted me clean open. That's why if you see in the back of my head, I still got that scar now. I didn't know I was bleeding at the time. And I went upstairs and I went to sleep. And this is where, like many people don't know, I almost died by the amount of blood that I lost. And it's only because of my sister waking me up why I'm still here. But the only reason why my sister woke me up was because my mum wanted me to come downstairs to continue the beating. So when I went downstairs and all she saw was my white t-shirt at the time soaked in blood, she stopped and she froze. But she didn't take me to the hospital. What she did, she took me upstairs, put water in the sink, put Dettol in there, cleaned me up, and said, you know what, this is what you made me do. Second time, I felt broken. This time. Now, for me, one of the things that happened in my lifetime was growing up in a household without a father. But the few memories I do have of my father actually being in the house wasn't the best, to say the least. And I share this with you right now because it is important, as I said from the very beginning, your parents should be showing you love. I didn't get that love. I remember one time, me and my sister was watching TV, and I remember a guy on the TV show was doing press-ups, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, at the age 4 or 5 years old, Daddy, I can do this. Daddy, you know what, watch me. So I went down, I started to do press-ups. He didn't like the press-ups I was doing. So he came to me and he showed me, no, son, do it like this. I thought, okay, Daddy, thank you very much. He showed me. And I started to do the press-ups again. No, you're doing it wrong. And I thought to myself, okay, Daddy, how do I do it? So he showed me again. Then he started to physically start to get angry. In his face, all I saw was that raw anger, that lack of love. And he looked at me and says, you better start getting this right. Now I got scared. From something of me just trying to get his attention and for him to show me love, he went from that to pure rage. To the point where I was tired. I was 4 or 5 years old. He's making me do press-ups time and time again. I'm doing it wrong. I'm not getting it right. What does he do? As his interpretation of training and discipline, he went downstairs and got a cheese grater. He made me start to do the press-ups again, but this time he put a cheese grater underneath my belly. So every time I went down and I rocked, I was grating myself. This is the love my dad showed me to show me how to be disciplined. Again, I was broken. Last but not least. Sorry. I was about 16, 17 years old. And at this time, if you knew me, something changed with me. That love I had as a child started now coupled with this lack of understanding and why I wasn't being loved, why I wasn't getting what I needed from my parents started to really change me and form me. And I was really hurt. I was angry, but I still attempted to show love, especially to my parents. And I remember going to my father's house, and I remember sitting down with him because he called me. And I was thinking, okay, this guy never calls me, this is great, we're going to do some bonding. I will never forget this whole moment, but it's just still part of a blur of how I went from his house back to my mum's house. I remember us sitting down, and we're sitting down face to face, and me and him are talking. And he started it up with the best lines possible. He said, son, you are the most amazing child that I have. You may need 3 lifetimes to be able to achieve the things that you can achieve in your life. You may need to be able to look at yourself and be proud of everything that you're going to be able to do. You could read, you could write, you could do maths, you could do everything that you're supposed to. You're able to do things, okay, that most people cannot. And I am proud of you. But he looked at me, dead in my eyes. And I'm telling you right now, the pain I felt when he said this. He looked at me, dead in my eyes, and he said, hey, out of all my children, as amazing as you are, I don't love you. I cannot tell you, for my father to look at me and tell me that he didn't love me, he didn't even want me, that I was here. Sorry. I was here by mistake. And for him to be able to tell me that, hey, you know what? It's okay though, because you're going to do great things. I remember leaving that house in a daze, like, what the hell are you talking about? And I remember walking home, back to my mum, back where I felt that this was a safe place. And I remember walking into this door, into the house, walking into the passageway. My mum at that time was coming down the stairs. And she could see that I was visibly upset. And I looked at her and I said, Mum, I can't believe what my dad just told me. I'm so hurt. Help me, I don't understand. So I said to her, look, he said, okay, that he didn't love me, he didn't even want me. And my mum looked at me and said, you need to be grateful. I said, what? She goes, yeah, you need to be grateful for that man, because if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be here. And I was like, what are you on about? I know the birds and the bees, yes, I get all that, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. And she was like, no, you don't understand. If it wasn't for him, you would not be here. Because he paid me to have you. Because I was going to have an emotion with you. At that moment, my whole world shattered. This is where I was physically broken. I learned my dad didn't love me. I learned my mom didn't love me. And at that time, I felt to myself, you know what? I don't deserve to live. I wanted to die. So I actually picked up a knife and I went to stab myself. But before I actually did that, I just literally saw myself in the mirror and I caught myself and I said, hey, you know what? If no one loves you, I love you. Mm-hmm. And I put down the knife and I walked out. But based on all of that, you can understand, okay, I had this duality complex with my life. I know I was a loving person. I know I wanted to be loving. But I had now, because of everything that has happened in my life, I was just angry. I was upset. I was fearful. I didn't know how to be me anymore because I didn't have the things that I needed to be me. And I needed to go out there into the world and show the world, okay, you know what, who I am. And the only way I can do that is by protecting myself. And I started to protect myself with anger. If you got on my nerves, okay, it was a problem for you. To the point where everyone started to call me the Hulk. Because if it was a problem, if I didn't like what you were saying, if I didn't like what you was doing, it was on tops. Just be prepared to know, be ready in it. And that's how I was. And in Hackney, they called me the Hulk. No one messed with my brothers and sisters. They just knew that anytime, anywhere, it's like, if you're going to do anything, just know he's going to find you. It was everything. And even within everything I was doing in my life, that's what happened. So that's just what I became. I was angry all the time. And at times when I did show love, it was for a moment. Because I felt if I showed love, you're going to feel that I'm weak. And if you feel that I'm weak, you're trying to take the mick out of my life. And I could not allow that to happen. So for years, this is how I was in relationships, trying to be the best man I can be loving, but could not show that vulnerability, because if you did, okay, then you might take your love away from me and try and take the love I had for myself away from me as well. So this is how I was all the time. So you can imagine I was tired. Half the time I was tired. And this is what happened when I got into relationships. Relationship after relationship, it broke down. Because in the beginning I could show that love, but you can't sustain something that you're not for too long. And that's what happened with me. I honestly poured out my heart, but what I could pour out to people was just enough for you to see that I can be this person. But the other side of it was, hey, if you took the mickey, you're going to see another side. And it was the other side which kept breaking down every relationship that I kept going into. Even relationships with some friends as well. Because I refused for anyone to try to take me for an idiot. Now, one of the big things that I did after 2018, I broke up with one of my partners back then. I remember I was working for NCS The Challenge, and I was mentoring. I was mentoring some of these black boys within, I think it was Lewisham. So it was, you can understand, it's South London, it's Lewisham, you know these are unruly boys, right? And to illustrate this, the first day, when I mean the very, very first day we met, in the first hour, okay, I went to everyone, listen, if you have anything on you, okay, please just throw it into the bag, and we're going to leave it here, and we're not going to take anything to the residential where we're supposed to go to. And I wasn't expecting much. I was expecting, like, because you're not allowed to have peanuts, you're not allowed to have this for allergies and everything else. So I was expecting, like, chocolate bars and stuff like that. When I mean, okay, half a pound of weed was in this bag. And I was thinking, no way. The police got called. Like, I was thinking, this is my first time. Like, what is wrong with you? And the only reason why these boys, okay, did not get arrested on that day was because my assistant manager called it the amnesty bag. Meaning, okay, that it exempt them from getting in trouble. That's the only reason why these boys didn't get arrested on that day. So we took them. To the residential. We had a great time. I really bonded with them. We actually played fighting. We literally was wrestling in the room, proper fighting, and they got overexcited, and I kind of hit one of them a bit too hard, and I was like, hey, calm down, it's fine. Tomorrow we'll get extra yogurt. It's cool. And we did that, and it was fine. But it was the last day. It was the last day when they all came to me. Yeah? This is hilarious. I had to again think about my life twice in that one moment. They came to me, all of them were crying, saying, you're the first man in our life to ever show us love, like to ever give us that time, to ever be there for us. And they were crying, I got emotional, it was an amazing thing. And they said, hey, Mr. Williams, listen, if you need money here, and I brought out this money, like, let us know, you know. And I was like, nah, it's cool, fam. Yeah, exactly. Like, put your money away, that's you, innit? Like, I was thinking, nah, man needed that still, you know. But it was amazing. When they walked away, I thought to myself, wow, you're still able to pour love into people, but you just cannot do this for yourself. And this is where I put myself into therapy. And for a black man to do that, it's hard. To put yourself in therapy, to put yourself in a vulnerable position, to really unpack and get to the core issues within your life is one of the most hardest things, because people around me like, nah, be a man, fam. Like, nah, you don't need none of that stuff. Like, I'm not sharp. Like, man's hurting. Like, man is like, I'm going through things and none of you are helping me, so I'm going to invest in myself. And I did that. The first time I ever put myself through therapy, right, it's like, even now I'm thinking about it, it's so funny. I got to the fourth or third session. And I was telling the therapist everything that was happening in my life. I kid you not, the man looked me dead in the eye and said, Dean, man can't help you. Like, I'm like, you're a therapist though, because what you're telling me is so deep, I don't know what to do. But if you just want to talk about it, we can. And I was like, I literally left there laughing. I'm thinking, right, is this really that deep? You know, therapists, okay, found it difficult to actually deal with this. And that was the first time. The second time, I went to another therapy session with a new therapist. Obviously, I'm not going to go back to him. I sat down with the therapist and I got to the end of the session and he left me with something. He goes, can you sit in your feelings? Not do anything, because all you want to do is fix everything. All you want to do is change your scenario. Can you honestly just sit and just be? That was the hardest thing in my life. Not to be able to fix what was broken within me. Not trying to make myself feel better or fix the world. Which I tried to say I had a kind of a Superman complex where I wanted to make everyone else feel happy at the detriment even to myself. And that was hard. And it took me a while to learn how to sit within my feelings. And even now, even though I'm much better, it's still a work in progress. And that for me, okay, was so liberating because I was able now just to get to the core issues. Now, part of the things which I love doing in my life is studying, is learning, is to educate myself. And I wanted to get back to being authentic, to try, literally just to be myself. And I did. One of the things which I came across was love. Loving is, I said, nothing makes sense for me. Like, I was going to church before, and when I was going to church, it became more of a burden in a negative sense than anything else, because I saw people in church continuously broken, continuously mentally, physically, spiritually, financially broke, and it just irritated me. I said, I can't be around you people. So I left the church. And the only thing I said to myself, the only thing what ever made sense in my life was just love. So I just studied what love actually is. And when I came across love, I saw all these different versions and variations of what love is or what love can actually be. But the one that really resonated with me the most was agape. The agape love, to be able to love unconditionally, to be able to love, okay, without any expectation. And funny enough, we had this conversation at our event a week ago, and it was someone said something that as human beings, we always are expecting. So I said to myself, can we truly display and put agape love into existence as human beings? And I thought to myself, maybe not, but we can always attempt to do so. Like, this could be our benchmark, this can be our bar that we should be striving towards every single day, is to apply agape love to everything that we do, knowing that it's going to be difficult, knowing that it's going to be challenging. As parents, we do that. I see these great parents do it all the time. Yvonne is one of the best parents I've ever seen, and she applies agape love. Davinia, like one of my closest friends, okay, she does things for my family that I don't even do. Okay, Ian has been there from day one for me. When I said, yeah, Ian, I'm going to start my business one day, because when you're ready, I'll be standing by your side. Like, no questions, no expectations, no nothing. George, you know I was going to call you, but I think you're tired by now. I see you say it all the time. I say it all the time, everyone needs a George by your side. And that's what I have. And I see agape love in part happening in my life. And I know it's possible to human beings to be able to do that if we truly desire to. And this is why when I hear and I read the Bible and it says the truth will set you free, I believe by understanding who you truly are, this will truly set you free. And for you to truly understand who you are, you need to know yourself through God's eyes and also your own. Because for me, God is the creator of who you truly are. And if you really want to see you need to be able to see him. And if you want to see him, you need to be in the Word. And that's what allowed me to be the best man that I can be, that I'm striving to be, that I'm hoping to be, is to literally learn through the Word, learn through greater men than me, surrounding myself with wonderful people that can actually help me to be the best man that I can actually aspire to be. But love for me has been that energy, that desire for me to be better. But I said to myself, you know what? This has been one of the best things that I can actually truly embrace and empower myself and inspire myself with, is to understand love. But love from the agape standpoint. Now, this has been my journey, and going from where I started from to where I am now, being in the church, it hasn't been a smooth journey getting here. For those people who knows me, but you know, I question everything. I question the church on so many different things. I question the Bible. I question, and me and Pastor go back and forth sometimes as well. I'm like, but it says this don't make no sense. Like, help me make sense of this. And we sit down, and sometimes Pastor goes, you know what, yeah, let me come back and do that one. And I think to myself, okay, cool, this is an open dialogue. I'm going to learn. I'm going to, as it says in the Bible, I'm going to ask, I'm going to seek, I'm going to knock. I'm going to ask for direction, I'm going to ask for wisdom. I'm going to seek the truth. I'm going to knock on doors, okay, of people who can actually help me. And then this is what I'm actually building. So on my journey right now, this is what I'm at. I'm on my journey. I'm developing myself. I'm learning my walk. I'm learning my experience of what God is going to really look like, because everyone's journey is going to be different. How you talk to God and how you pray to God is going to be totally different. Definitely how I differently pray to God. Me and God having real conversations. I talk to God like, say, He's my Father, He's my best friend, He's my King, everything. And I'm literally, when I'm there sometimes on my knees, I'm like, God, where are you at? Seriously, like, what are you doing? Like, right now, I'm here, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing this stuff, but I don't hear your voice. Like, I want that wonderful experience with you. And this for me has been a time where I can actually just be real and hot with God. Now, on my journey, being in the kingdom, I was with a phenomenal woman. She was great. She was fantastic. We was in the Bible. We was learning. We was growing together. We was on the Bible app, praying and doing all these wonderful things. And I thought to myself, this is the one. This is the woman I'm going to get married to. Got the engagement ring. And I thought it was going to happen. But it didn't. We broke up. And this did something to me internally, because I thought to myself, I was doing it right this time. I was going by the book, going by the Bible. But I realized there's still parts of me that was happening which I felt that I dealt with. And I was literally praying to God, and I was talking to people like George and Ian, like, why is it still happening? I felt that I was better, but the things which I didn't want to happen were still happening. And we had our conversations about, like, no, Dean, like, it's like, keep working on it. And I'm like, it's not working, like, I can't be bothered no more. This is long. And I thought to myself, you know what, this is hard. This is hard. Being in the kingdom is not easy. Being in the kingdom, okay, is challenging. I was thinking, what's the difference of being in the kingdom? If it's challenging in the kingdom, challenging in the world, does it even matter where the hell I am? And I realized to myself, you know what? This is where faith comes in. Sometimes you're not going to see what you want to see straight away. Sometimes, okay, it's those moments where you want to give up, where God is actually the closest to you. And I felt to myself, okay, this has been the most amazing part of my whole journey. So I went back into therapy. And I thought to myself, you know what, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I back here? I put in the work. I went to therapy. Like, black men don't go to therapy. This is like my third or fourth time, and I'm back here again. And I realized this is a process. This is your journey. Like, no one can tell you how your day is going to be. No one's going to tell you if you do one thing or a next thing, how tomorrow's going to be. But what is truly going to happen is you being obedient, is something's going to happen. Like, if you keep praying, you keep believing, like, something is going to happen. If you be consistent, as we say within the business world, DCC, be disciplined, be committed, be consistent to everything that you're doing. And that's what I've been applying to the kingdom is, you know what, can I be consistent even though I'm not seeing what I want to be seeing? And how do I keep going when I'm praying, I'm not seeing anything? I want to show my friends and family, okay, you know what, there's a new way where you can actually come and have a much better life. But my life is not changing. I feel like a fraud asking my people to come to church. I feel like a fraud when I want to show the people, okay, you know what, God is the way and everything else, but I'm still struggling myself. But it's these moments where I can be honest and stand strong within my weakness and tell you I'm not doing the best where I know I can be. But I still believe in God, and it's actually going to come through to me, which I feel may be the most powerful moments that I can actually show you within my testimony. Because when God does make that breakthrough, you can see me where I was and where He took me. And that's the glory that I will give to Him hands down. But until that day, I'm just going to be obedient. So my whole journey with the therapist, came to an end when I realized, you know what? This is great, but I want to now trust in what God is telling me in regards to how I should be. Like really delve into the Word. And there was a great saying by Pastor Rick Warren when he said, okay, if you really want to know what God wants for you, what God's will is for you in your life, is you need to be in your Word. So God's wisdom, God's will is in His Word. And this is where I know I need to be. And I've been praying and it's been challenging. It has been. But this, if you really know already, has been one of my best Bible verses, the whole thing. Don't worry, Nike, I'm not going to get to read it this time. It's fine. But it is one of my best Bible verses which has anchored me within my journey. Because when I needed to know, if God is even listening, does He truly understand me? When I go to 1 Corinthians 13 and I read it from beginning to end, I hear His voice within this. I can hear Him saying, stay faithful, stay anchored in what you're doing, stay diligent on the path. And then when I read Matthew 6:33, and He talks about seek first the kingdom of God and all His righteousness. And I said to God in the beginning, it took me a while to understand what He was actually talking about with all of this. And I'm on my journey, and it is challenging, and it is hard, and it's not something, that I wanted to keep doing. But it is something which I want to be obedient for me. Thank you so much. See, that's the love right there. None of you gave me a tissue. All right. So I said to myself when I got baptized a few weeks ago, and I said to myself, no, someone asked me, it might have been you. No, it was one of my friends that asked me, hey, since you've been baptized, what has been different in your life? And I was having a conversation with Nike about this on Sunday, and I said, nothing. I got baptized, and it's okay, cool, got baptized, yay, I dipped in water, came out, got some nice photos. But only when I was actually speaking to Nike, I realized something has happened, but I did not notice it. I had a hard factory reset. What God did to me on that day was, He said, hey, you know what? You're going to start again from afresh, knowing what you know now, moving forward to do better. So when you have your computers and you have it's all buggy, it's all stuff, and you literally reset everything back to the factory setting. That's what God did for me in my life. So now I can truly love. I can go back to loving people in the way that I want to. I can actually give people my gift, my fruits, which God gave to me. My talent is to be of service. So when I talk about my purpose in life, which is to serve, inspire, to empower people, to come from a place of love and joy, this is what I absolutely love. This is what God has allowed me to do. To be able to do this, from an authentic standpoint, without feeling inhibited by past mistakes or things that I have done and everything else. And when I'm talking to Akil and he's calling me and said, hey bro, I need you to come out, and I'm at home watching anime, and I'm like, no, I'm going to be there for you. When I'm there and Mark is calling me and said, Dean, I need you to deliver this program for me, and it's no question, make it shine. Mark, it's done. It's like when I'm talking to Davinia or talking to Yvonne, and I'm like, hey, where you at? One of my favorite questions when I'm asking David is where's your heart at? I don't want to know generic questions, how you're feeling, that's easy. How you're feeling in that moment is cool, but where you are really, where is that love? Where is your heart at? And that's what life has allowed me to do, is to really connect to people in a way to see, can I serve you? And when I'm talking to phenomenal people who are on their journey in their business world, like Chevelle, and I'm looking at her life, and I'm seeing, the life that she's about to be changing in her world, and I'm saying, I want to show up for you as much as I can. I want to be there for you so you can actually change the world. And all I want to do is to be able to sit back and watch you do what you're supposed to be doing. And God has allowed me to do that once again. So when I'm here in church and I'm here supporting and I'm laughing, and sometimes like I am feeling broken. Right now I'm feeling broken. And when I'm talking to Ian, and Ian calls me and goes, "Where you at, young man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in a good place right now." And he's like, "Okay, cool." And he gives me that time and space and environment for me just to share. This is where I'm allowed to allow that love to flow. And I'm so thankful for these are the gifts that God has given me. It's phenomenal people, like everyone today who's in that room. Now, everything that I'm doing is telling you that I am broken. And I am broken. Not too sure if everyone knows what this bowl is about. If you'll be quiet, please. Does anyone know what this bowl actually is? Know the history behind it? No? If we was to do with Campbell.
I'm just going to sit.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a Chinese something, and when it shatters, they piece it back together with the gold. Something
Wrong.
like that.
It's in the Orient. It's actually Japanese. You are right.
Japanese.
Akil, do you want to explain what this is?
No,
You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it, no?
Sure.
You're not sure? Okay, cool. So this is the kintsugi bowl. It's a Japanese bowl. And the history behind it is, okay, that everything that you have back in the day in Japan, it was like when they had those precious vases or bowls and they broke, they didn't want us to throw it away, but they wanted to mend it. And when they mended it, they don't want to mend it with glue, they wanted to mend it with something even more precious to show, okay, that this thing still has great value. And they used to, and what they use is gold to actually bring that piece back to life. So this is something, okay, when I saw this, I felt this really resonated with me. Even though it's broken, it still has value. Now, when I look at broken, when we started from the very beginning, and I ask you, what did you see? When you see the word broken, what comes to your mind? Shout it out for me.
Hurt.
Pieces.
Ugly. Hurt. Damage. Trauma.
Anything else?
Pain.
Pain. Okay, that's what we have. I fix my mind to see broken in a different way. So when I'm thinking about being broken, it's like believe. Believe in God above myself. That's the first thing I'm doing right now. It's not to think about me, it's to trust in Him. Because when I trust in myself, okay, the thoughts that run through my mind is not the best. How I want to act, how I want to be is not always going to be the best way. So I say, I trust in you. So I surround myself with a great counsel within the church. I might turn to David, Nika, Pastor, George, Mark, Ian. I might turn to my community and say, hey, this is where I'm at, this is how I'm feeling, but give me a different perspective. And it allows me to believe in more than where I am right now. Responsibility. This is something that I have to take for my life. God gave me this one life to be the best man I can be. So the good choices, the bad choices, the ups, the downs, everything that happens, I take full responsibility for that. But I still give God the glory for everything that I do. In Him that I trust. But I also understand, okay, that as a man on this earth, I have a responsibility to be the best man I can be. So I do take responsibility for all that I do. I make no qualms. George will tell you all the time, okay, if I don't agree with you, you know I don't agree with you. But anything I do moving forward is me taking responsibility. If it goes right, you know what? I'm a bad man. If it goes wrong, cool, I learned something in it. I should have done that. So I take full responsibility for everything that I do. Organize. Your life is so important. Each and every one of you here today, your life is so amazing. But have you organized everything in your life in its correct position? When you have your priorities, what is actually number one? And that's for you to answer for yourself. Truly, honestly ask yourself, what is your number one focus in your life? Where do you get your source from? And to steal from Simon Sinek, okay, with that whole golden circle thing, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? So organize. I organize my life to the point where I said to myself, you know what? Nothing matters no more. The only thing that I want to do is have the best experience with God on this earth. If you know me, I want to be the best at everything. The Vineyards to this day will not play any games with me because I want to win in everything. But at this moment, I said to myself, you know what? All these things which I really held dear to myself, I don't want to do no more. Like, it doesn't have that same weight in my life. I just want to have that great experience. So my priority now, what I've organised is for God just to be number one. Everything else will just come after. Kinetic. Keep it moving. Kinetic energy is just movement, is action. It's just literally just keep it moving. And that's what life has shown me. You can't stop. Les Brown said it best. If you're in hell, why are you going to stop? Keep it moving. Like, keep walking in that dark place. Keep walking in your valley. Keep walking to the place, okay, until you get to a place where you can truly rest and have peace. And I was speaking to Akil a few weeks ago when we went out. And it was an amazing time because I didn't know I needed that time with him as well. So it was a wonderful reciprocal night out. And I realized to myself, you know what? We need to be moving within the valley. We need to know, okay, as we're on our hero walk and life is happening and life is going to be life, and you know what? It's still to be able to be grateful as you're walking through that valley. And that was hard for me. It has been hard. It has been a challenge. But to keep it moving, but do it in the right way with the right mindset and the right attitude. Equable. This is something which has been very hard for me, to be calm, tranquil. In the midst of the time, okay, when the storm is happening and I want to rage, like last night, I went out, I was doing a mentoring program and I was on the phone to Yvonne and I was like, hey Yvonne, it's like a magical thing happened. I jumped on the train and the train wasn't supposed to be here and it's taking me home. It got to Slade Green and then it cancelled. I was like, what? And this is 11 o'clock at night. I was like, oh my goodness. So I had to wait for another hour and a half before I got home. I was fuming. I was so angry and I was like, can you be equitable right now? Can you be tranquil? Can you be calm in a time, okay, when you are raging within inside? Because the greatest storm is not outside, it's within. And it's, can you be still? And then finally, new mindset. Everything that I'm doing right now is coming from a new mindset. Everything that I hope to be, everything that I want to be is coming from a mindset of now I can show up with love. Now I can do the things that I want to do. I can actually be there for other people. I can actually now, even though I feel broken, I feel like I'm not in the best place mentally, spiritually, emotionally, that love that God has been pouring into me, I can now pour it out to other people's cup. Because it's not mine. I'm tapping into His. So this thing gives me a infinite amount of love I can just pour into other people, even though I'm going through my own things. And then that for me makes me very, very happy. So finally, as we get into the end of my story, I just want to share something with you. Yeah, it's not broken. This is my bowl. This is what I created when I went to the class a few weeks ago. This is me broken. This is me mended with gold. And this is not me putting myself back together. This is God. This is God showing me that you are valuable, you are fantastic, you are beautiful, and I do love you, and you're precious. Thank you.